Hey, and welcome back to the channel, Flight Sim enthusiasts and all of you racing sim junkies. Well, this video comes at the request of my viewers asking what peripherals the doctor uses on his 3.5 degree of freedom motion sim. What does he use to get the sim moving? Let's talk about my flight sim peripherals first. As you can see here on video, guys, this is a Peripheral VPC Warbird. It's the Warbird base, and it's running the Constellation Alpha stick. Now, I bought this used with the throttle that we'll talk about shortly on Gumtree at the end of COVID. And it was very fortunate that I found this. I got it for an absolute song. There's no way the doctor would have been able to buy this high-end gear from new because the doctor just ain't that rich. But I think the gentleman that had purchased this during COVID, he was obviously bored as batshit at home, like we all were during COVID, and he thought he might give flight sims a crack. I think he was playing Elite and Dangerous or something like that. I can only assume that's the case and the choice for the Constellation Alpha, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, he obviously decided that wasn't for him, so they were hardly used, and the doctor just could not pass up an opportunity to purchase these at a bargain price. So that's what I'm using as my joystick. It has a vast array of buttons, hats, dials, more than the doctor even knows what to do with. I'm like a kid in a lolly shop with this thing. All right, well, let's have a look at the throttle that this came with. So the throttle that the joystick came with, guys, is again a Peripheral. It's the Peripheral MT50 throttle slider with the button box, a vast array of buttons at your disposal to assign to key commands, guys, in games. More than enough for the doctor. The actual throttle itself, it has a vast array of hats, sliders, all sorts of stuff, dials on the box, dials on the slider. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Really good for setting up trim with the dials. A game changer, really, for that type of arrangement in a flight sim. So, yeah, I couldn't recommend those particular peripherals high enough. If you're fortunate enough to find them used, I'd say grab them. They're a high-end item and they're built really well. So I think even if you get a used one, it's going to be still running for years to come. So if you can find them used, I'd grab them. So that's the flight sim peripherals in a nutshell. The only other thing I would actually add to that, which I should because I've just seen it in the corner of my eye, you can see on the joystick, guys, it's actually also got a built-in digital brake on the front. Fantastic for using as a brake in flight sims. Another added bonus. All right, let's talk about my racing sim peripherals. Let's start with my wheelbase. So the wheelbase I use, guys, is a Fanatec CSL direct drive. It's the 5 Newton meter version, which can basically be boosted to an 8 Newton meter with the power pack. I've actually got the power pack. I bought it online. It's like a rip-off of the Fanatec one. The Fanatec one's extremely expensive. This was a lot cheaper. But to be honest, since using this in its 5 Newton meter capacity, and that's all I've been able to use it at because the steering wheel I bought with this is also a CSL, so it's the entry-level steering wheel. It's only got the plastic coupling, so it's got a lockout feature that disables you being able to use a full 8 Newton meters. And so I've only been able to use 5 Newton meters. And to be honest, I find that more than enough. I can't see why I would actually need 8 Newton meters. If I ramp my force feedback settings up, the gain, etc., in Assetto Corsa or the R Factor titles, it's enough to give me sore wrists and a sore arm within an hour. So I can't see how I would get any benefit from the 8 Newton meter at this stage. I would like to get a Club Sport wheel for the metal coupling to the wheelbase, just for rigidity. The plastic one is quite flexible. This is what I'm talking about. So this is an entry-level CSL wheel that I purchased, the universal hub that goes on the back of the wheel with all the buttons. Once again, lots of buttons there, guys, which is really handy to assign to different commands in your racing games. So that's it for my wheelbase and steering wheel. The shifter I use the Fanatec 1.5 Club Sport shifter. This is a H pattern shifter. It's really heavy duty, guys. I really enjoy using this. And it comes with the little switch that basically changes it on the fly from a H pattern to sequential, if that is what you desire to use. So the only other thing to talk about, guys, really are the pedals that I use for my racing sim. And I'm able to, with some software apps, I'm able to assign these as rudder pedals as well. which is very handy. Let me just zoom down on this. Sorry if this becomes a bit grainy. But yes, these are the Fanatec Club Sport V3 pedals. Now, I was using G27 Logitech pedals before these, so these are certainly a step up from that. I'm happy with these for the level of simmer that I am. You can see there though, guys, between the brake and the accelerator, you can see a really chunky compression spring installed there. Well, I have modified this. I was not happy with the springs that come with the Fanatec Club Sport pedals. They do come with 2 degrees of springs, but even the firmer spring was still not enough for the Doctor. So I was able to source that compression spring just from my local hardware store. I happened to find one that had the right inside diameter to sleeve over the existing spring. So I've just installed that, and that has made it really, really good. It's made it very realistic, and I can certainly keep myself from spinning the back wheels a lot more with that spring installed than what was happening prior to installing that spring. I did buy the upgrade brake kit, which comes with some additional or change out bushings. So I've modified the brakes slightly as well for that to work. And as I say, guys, there's some software that can be used. I've got YouTube tutorials on using Joystick Gremlin, Universal Controller, and VJoy to be able to assign the separate axes on racing pedals to one axis, because in flight sims, particularly with IL2, Sturmovik, all the series of Sturmovik, they require one axis. So they assume that you're using either a swivel on your joystick or that you have proper rudder pedals. So you need to be able to trick IL2 into thinking that you've got rudder pedals, and that software enables you to merge the separate axes on your racing pedals into one axis and accomplish that. See the link in the video just here now. Click on that if you want to check out those videos on how to use Joystick Gremlin, VJoy, or Universal Controller to indeed do that and save yourself some money on rudder pedals. The only other thing to talk about, guys, is my head tracking. I use Track IR5 software, and I use, like shown here, the hat clip, guys, just a 3 reflector hat clip. I use that with copious amounts of hot glue holding it on there. And I use, sorry, let me just readjust my camera here. And I use a Korean copy of the Track IR Natural Point infrared camera. And this particular setup is called NP5. Okay, and it's basically dead set a rip-off of the Natural Point Track IR. It runs with the latest Track IR version 5 software. It is identical. I paid $80 for that on eBay. Those Koreans are indeed very, very naughty. They're very naughty, but they saved me a lot of money. That cost me $80 on eBay versus almost $400 if I was to buy the Natural Point Track IR. And before we call it quits on this video, guys, the only other peripheral I use, I guess you could call it peripheral, is I'm using a track racer seat on my rig. And I really like this seat. It's very light, it's very comfortable, and it really holds you in position in those dives, in those rolls, in that traction loss, in the racing cars. It's a great seat. It works well on this rig. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and take it easy out there.